Hello, in this tutorial I will be showing you how to get started with dialogflow conversational agents, or dialogflow CX. For some context, Google previously had a service called Dialogflow Essentials, or Dialogflow ES. However, now it has Dialogflow conversational agents, which has much more rich features. Since Google is transitioning away from Dialogflow ES and into Dialogflow CX, we are now also starting to use Dialogflow CX within SICK. To get started, go to the Conversational Agents launch page, which will also be linked below. You will be asked to select a project. This should be the same project you used when you created your Google Cloud Platform key. If you do not have a Google Cloud Platform key, there is another tutorial that you need to follow, which will be linked below. Once you have selected your project, you're now going to click on Create Agent. For the purposes of this tutorial, we are going to use a pre-built agent. We are going to select Smalltalk for our pre-built agent. You can give it whatever name you want. I'm not sure how much the location matters, but I've been using the Netherlands location. Now, in conversational agents, there are two types of conversation structures. You can use playbooks, which are generative AI based and less rigid, or flows, which are more defined by rules. I will link a video below which explains more about the conversational agent's UI and how to use it. However, for this demonstration, know that our agent is flow-based. If you click on the Flows tab, you can see different parts of the conversation that have been defined so far. These parts are called pages, and basically frame where you are in the conversation and what the agent can recognize. Within each page, you have these themes called routes, where you define specific speech patterns that you want the agent to recognize and how you want it to respond. Each route is based on an intent. For example, this route is based on the default welcome intent. If we click on it and then we click Edit Intent, we can see that this intent is triggered when the agent recognizes one of these training phrases. So the intent determines what we want the agent to recognize, and the route determines how we want it to respond. If we go back to the route and scroll down to the fulfillment section, we see we have the agent responses defined here. We can also use this conversational information for ourselves. For example, by using the intent, you can get the now to perform certain gestures along with what the agent tells it to say. To demonstrate this, I'm going to change the name of this intent to welcome_intent and then click Save. Later on, I will show you how I use this. Before you test your agent out on a now, you can simulate it in your browser by clicking on these three dots and then Toggle Simulator. This brings you to a chatbot which is functioning as your agent. You may need to make sure that your agent is first trained if it doesn't happen automatically. To do so, go into the agent settings, then deterministic flows, and then click on Train. Now, to use your agent in your SICK project, you will need both the agent ID and where the agent is located. You can find this information in the URL. Now, back in your application, paste the agent ID and the location in the appropriate fields. Remember how I was saying we can use the intents to perform certain gestures? You can see how in this line of code, I am testing to see if the welcome intent I defined was recognized. If so, then now performs a waving gesture. To use Dialogflow CX, you will first need to make sure the service is installed and running. Open up another terminal and run the following command. If you are using Z Shell on macOS, you'll need to include quotes around the final argument to prevent shell expansion. Make sure your virtual environment is also activated before doing so. Now run the following command. This process is what will connect to the Dialogflow API once we start our application. With this running, you can now go back and start your application.